What up, what up, what up? It is the Friday edition of the Shark Cove. A little lighter than usual, but we have a banger of a slate. Don't have a lot of people on here to discuss it. It's just me and the Moose. What's going on, Moose? How are you?
What's up, guys? I'm just tired in Italy.
Absolutely. Well, you're no longer the reigning triumphant warrior champion, but that's okay. You're still the champion in our hearts, and we're going to see what we can do to, maybe take this slate down. You were the only one on the panel yesterday that said top esports, and the only lineup that I cashed was my top esports lineup. Unfortunately, the one team that we almost completely unanimously disregarded because they've been so poor for fantasy all year in Damwon was the combination that you needed with it. And not only that, what they pretty much performed to expectation of my projections. It was just that everybody else projected or played so poorly. Quite frankly, once I watched the first game of the JDG series, I knew we were in for a pretty fucked night. Just to put it gently. The second game did not change that opinion. I was really hoping for a KDF win over T1, but then I realized I had them small stacked with JDG. So what the fuck did it matter? It didn't. A lot of different spots on this slate, though, that are a lot more explosive, should we say, than what we saw yesterday. But we do see that these 5-game slates, specifically that early game, sometimes does disappoint. Let's go ahead. Let's take a look at this. Let's see what we've got. So we're going to kick this off with the first game of the night being Victory 5, bringing back Xiaolongbao, a blast from the past, a name that I haven't seen, I don't think, since like summer 2020. One of the coolest names out there, the top lane and jungle duo of Xiaolongbao and Langshi. Pretty cool names. But this time it's rich. It's Xiaolongbao, it's Rookie, it's Fodok, and PP God, going against anyone's legend. The Kung Fu Pandas, which have been coming through in the clutch, most recently with a rather surprising upset of EDG, who we'll talk about in a little bit. This game has some massive odds to it. Victory 5, deservedly a massive favorite here. What kind of interest, if any, do you have in this game from a GPP, from a cash perspective? Does anyone's legend have a shot?
Yeah, they do. But I don't know if they're capable of finishing the game against V5, and I don't think they're better in any position.
Yeah, I think the what you run into with them is, it's for them to win, that they're going to score a lot of points, but their points do get focused into the 3 carries. Their jungler, Forge, Betty, those are the guys that you want. I don't think I want a team slot out of this game. Victory 5 tends to play a risky, almost sloppy style of gameplay. They do have situations where they can be taken advantage of, and I think that kind of plays into anyone's legend's hands. I think that the bigger question for me is just how much ownership, how much people are going to buy into anyone's legend, and does Victory 5's pricing, being the most expensive on the board, does that prohibit people playing them? There's not a lot of comfortable stacks that you can put with Victory 5. You have to go to the coin flip game, which is EDG, BLG, and you can fit just about anything. When you go over to KT, you can actually get a mid captain, so it's getting a little bit better. But Gen G and LNG, those are going to be kind of top captains or support captains, so definitely not the GPP lineups that you want to see. I don't know. My opinion on this is I'll probably take a stab at anyone's legend, but I don't want too much. I think that this game ends up being a disappointment and goes under the projection, that these teams do not break the slate, and we continue to see these 2 a.m. games be kind of a disappointment.
Yeah, I think they pretty much locked down their spot. They know what they have. They know that they're good. So I don't think I'm going very further than that. I think they're just going to come in and clean up business.
Yeah, I can see them. I guess the theory that you could kind of craft is that they don't need to take this game seriously. They are putting in sub jungler, and because there are no implications, maybe they troll around, and that could lead to some high scoring games on both sides. I have a feeling that it's not, but I'm not going to be caught dead fading this game. I think that there's definitely the potential for it to be big. I just don't know how often that actually happens. As you can see, like the projections, I have them as the highest projected game outside of the LGD game, but still, I think that there's just something about these 2 a.m. games that just kind of mess with teams, and I don't know what it is. I'm not sure. Maybe we need to have somebody over at the LPL English, answer that. Get a question in one of these interviews with the guys so we can find that going. Moose, let's go to the next game, and this kind of goes to a question that we have here. Do you think the KT will get as much love as either side of the EDG BLG match? My take on that, KT is playing LSB, this game is off the board because of COVID issues. I don't think that we're going to see the LSB normal roster. I think that they're going to be quarantined. We're going to get this amateur team, maybe that they've had a little bit more time to prepare, but I think KT just kind of cruises in this game. It's just a matter of how bloody it gets. The question, though, of course, is how much KT do you foresee people like you and me and others all around the world playing?
I think a lot. I think a lot of KT. People just know that SB's bad, so.
Yeah, I think that you're right. I actually think KT is going to command a little bit higher ownership than you might think. 2 reasons. Obviously, they're in the goated league. They're in the LCK. LCK always in the optimal builds. I think we're going on like 90 years straight or 90 weeks straight at this point. It's been rather absurd, and I'm trying to pull up that last game that they played. Give me 1 second here.
Bro destroyed them.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm not. It's taking why is it not pulling it up? It was that was after this. I just want to remind myself on what those scores were. Oh, they're there. Okay, here we go. 23-4 and 15-7 were the scores in those games. I think KT is going to be popular also for the reason that you need KT to fit with some of these other big favorites and do a comfortable kind of like a carry captain, whether it's physical, whether it's aiming. You have a lot more options than if you're using a lot of the big favorites together. I do, part of this question is that whether or not EDG and BLG is popular, and I think it will be. I wonder which side people are on. Let me ask you, what side are you on when it comes? I don't think we need to spend any more time on KT LSB. So if you have something, feel free to add. But EDG BLG, where are you at on that game? I think that's what's on everybody's mind.
I think the KT have a really good chance of being optimal, but they're going to be really popular because you can fit LNG and V5 of them. But I think that if we're talking about the BLG EDG game, my first inclination, which is I think people will go to, is the random name. They're going to go Uzi. They're going to go to BLG. And they're going to think that EDG are kind of not trying right now. I think this is going to be a really game for EDG to bounce back and kind of show them that who's boss. Plus, it's Viper versus Uzi, so.
Yeah, look, and here's the biggest concern that I have when analyzing this game. Doing the projections for it were just difficult.
Yeah.
Just because it's like, do you take the sample size, the small sample size of Uzi games, or do you take BLG as a whole? I opted to take BLG as a whole and kind of meld in Uzi's personal performance into his projections. But I don't think that we can assume that these are going to be 40, 50, and 60 kill games combined. Now, look, if they are, you're going to want a piece of this. This is obviously a spot that has big game stack potential. However, my concern on the EDG side is because this is where I initially wanted to go. But my concern is EDG, who have they beaten? Like, look, they've had all the tough teams already in their schedule they've played. But, let me just read this off to you. They've not beat anyone. They've not beaten anybody of quality. So when it comes to their spring season thus far, they have, let's see, there we go. They have a win over FPX, IG, JDG, LGD, OMG, Team We, Thunder Talk, and Up. I guess you can make a case for JDG being a mid-tier team, and maybe OMG and FPX are in that conversation as well. But when it comes to the premier teams, they've lost to Weibo. They lost to Victory 5. They lost to Top Esports. They lost to RNG. And they recently lost to Anyone's Legend. Is this team better on paper, better in our minds than they actually are?
Yeah, for sure. Edward Gaming are not the team that won Worlds.
Now, the flip side of that is BLG hasn't beaten anybody either.
Remember I told you when we talked about this a few weeks ago, I said ever to the V5 loss, EDG hasn't been the same.
Well, yeah. It feels like that was the hard part of their schedule. That's when they got kind of exposed. They came into the season and they looked good. We were like, man, they're in top form, but they were playing really easy teams. BLG has not beaten anybody since Weibo in week 1. This team, I mean, they've taken care of the teams that they're supposed to, but they haven't been able to find those other marquee wins. They have a loss to FPX, a loss to IG, a loss to LNG, RNG, Victory 5, and Top Esports. That one game against Weibo is really their only marquee win. They do have wins against JDG, RA, and OMG, but again, we're not weighting those super heavily. So that's kind of the question that you need to ask yourself. And I'm torn on this. I can make a case either way. I don't have conviction. I'll leave it to you. I'll leave it to the viewer. If you want to play this side, you just have to ask yourself which EDG or which BLG is going to show up and how they match up with, the other team. I think both of these teams can beat the other one. It's just a matter of who does it tomorrow. And like where are people going to go? I think
So did you read Gelati's column?
I did. I read it earlier.
Okay. Do you think they banned Jinx and affiliates?
I'm not going to bank on any rational coaching decisions after we just got slammed on the Jinx assumptions yesterday. Because I mean, look, Uzi's played Jinx. Like I don't think that they do. Maybe they do, but I don't think that they do.
If they do, then one of them plays Kaisa, and that person wins.
I mean, maybe. We did get a Kaisa mid game yesterday. I went to bed right before it. I can't believe that of all things was what I manifested yesterday from the show. You can't manifest a takedown, but can manifest a Kaisa mid. Some massive powers.
It's a good pick.
Fraudulent back. I mean, look, dude. I'm not saying that they are. I'm just saying that you have to question it. That's all.
I think that you're gonna definitely want as much of this game as possible in your tournaments, especially if V5 or LNG don't do what they're supposed to do. But at the same time, you're probably pairing them with those teams, so an LCK small stack could really go a long way.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even hate an LCK big stack, to be quite honest. Let's talk about one of the big stacks in the LCK. You've got Genji, a minus 750 favorite. We don't know if Chovy's going to come back. We don't know if they follow the rules. I don't think that it matters playing HLE. This team has packed it in. They're done. Genji should roll this. It's just a matter of how extended this game becomes. I fully expect this to be a 2-0. Genji wins, but does Genji win like 15-7, or does Genji go out and get a 23 or 24 kill win and just kind of play with their food?
Yeah, I think that Genji have like a 45% over 30 minutes or something like that because they close out games so fast, and they're in this case, I think that they just run over it. Ophelia or Chovy in the mid lane. I mean, I just don't think they need to play the game. Pina dominates, and they go from there.
Yeah, the thing that worries me about this is because we're going to go through the last game and just talk about all of these games as a whole, but I feel like this is the forgotten game. I think everything else has components that you want to target. This is the one that is the least attractive on paper for me. When we look at the very first game that we talked about, I always want to get action in against anyone's legend or on anyone's legend, and same can be said about Victory 5. We've talked about the merits of EDG and BLG as a almost must play. KT seems like a fantastic spot against LSB. And, this last game, LNG versus LGD, feels like a great bounce back spot for LNG. So, that kind of just leaves Genji out. Like, we're not talking about them. We're not thinking about them. And, given their pricing, I don't know how popular they'll be. Does it feel like a damn one spot from yesterday? I mean, they're an LCK team. People don't like to play it.
I think the slate is way too stacked. Dude,
You think it's too stacked to play it?
Yeah, I think the slate's just too stacked. You just have too many options. I can already see some weird 1-3-3 winning in my head again.
Yeah, but look, the Genji, I like the play. I think that you can pair Ruler and Uzi. You can throw. You don't have to play Chovy. Like you can play Fofo in that situation, or you can play Scout. You have options. I think that Genji is going to be the lowest owned of the favorites. First of all, and then and I'm not counting the EDG BLG. I'm counting them both as favorites. So I think Victory 5, LNG, KT, EDG, BLG all have higher ownership than Genji, and so that does make them attractive because on any given slate we can see a certain team go off. Like I don't always pull this up, but if we look at the finals from yesterday. Full screen. Oh no, what did I do? That's not what I wanted to do at all. Give me a second here. All right, here we go. This isn't even the one that I want. It's great. Cancel. We're going to save that. We're going to close this. All right, we'll worry about that for a second. Yeah, technical difficulties. Cool. What I was going to say is every single one of the games yesterday ended up being a kind of a low-scoring affair, except for the Damwon game, and that's where I think that's at. But let's talk about this. Tell me a little bit about where you feel this LNG, LGD. Obviously, LNG needs a bounce back. They've had some struggles, played against some, the good teams, some tough parts of their schedule, and they now get an LGD team that is completely eliminated, and for all intents and purposes, should be an easy out for them.
Yeah, I just the first thing that comes to mind when I think about this is, what is LNG gonna do, right? Like, what are they gonna do in the spot? Are they gonna just demolish, or are they gonna give up a game? And I think if they give up a game, then they're not optimal. But they're LNG. They're always optimal. So it's this weird spot where I don't really know if either side knows what they're really playing for. LNG just needs a win, and they're probably gonna do it in either a 15-8 fashion or a 25 kill fashion. But I think based on everything that I've seen so far today, I think you have to play them in cash, and you have to bank on the fact that LGD will do LG things, and if they do that, they made EDG look like gods. They'll make LG look better.
For sure. Yeah, so getting back to this, I mean, you look at this 2-0, they didn't really perform to what we thought they were going to. Some low kill wins, definitely. Same thing can be said here. This was closer, but still, even in a 2-1, 43 points from Zeus, not what you like to see if he's on your fantasy team in the best ball playoffs. This Damwon team pretty much performed to projection. Terrible game from my boy Strive. Like, I talked Strive up, and he just completely let me down. And then JDG did absolutely nothing as well. So, those type of things can happen. And if that does, I think we run into this situation where Gen G ends up being, has a possibility of being optimal. So let's take a look at some of the comments here. LNG chokes under the pressure. LGD is in no fucks mode. JS a fuck tonight. No, man, look, here's my thing. Is LNG chokes under pressure? Maybe that's true. I don't know if I agree with that, but let's say that I do. What pressure are they going to get from LGD? This team is garbage. People forgot LNG is good. They've had a tough run. When we look at what LNG has lost against, just because they've lost recently, Victory 5, Weibo, Top Esports, RNG, and JDG. They've kind of lost to the top end teams, and they've beaten everybody else. So I think Iwandy coming in fixes the support issue. I love LNG tonight. I think they're another team that's semi-sneaky because they are playing LGD, and LGD just gives up boatloads of kills. And maybe these guys need to go out and have fun. Somebody pointed it out that Donby doesn't look like he's having as much fun as he did on FPX. And, maybe a 25-kill Fiesta win over LGD in Game 1 and Game 2 as well is just what he needed. Let's put together what we've got here. They had like one game where Jay was eaten, his very first, his debut. Since then, he seems satisfied. All right, so let's bring this up. Let's take a look at these teams. Let's see how that they've performed, who's given up anything, and whether or not we have a specific spot that we can target in terms of positionally. So for this split, anyone's legend, like everybody is basically ADC heavy. The one spot that has been scoring more points is the mid lane for both EDG and Gen G, as we can see here. In terms of teams that have been giving up a lot of points, interestingly enough, Billy Gaming has been giving up a lot of points to mid laners, makes Scout a pretty fantastic play, but I think people are onto that. I don't think anything really stands out in this chart that's more than normal. But teams like Anyone's Legend, BLG, and a couple other teams actually on this slate scored pretty well in losses. Do you take that into account when building rosters at all? I really don't, personally.
Yeah, I don't. Not really. I just want to play the most optimal players in a situation where they succeed. So in this spot, I just definitely think that for something is really gravitating me towards that game, especially just the fact that Uzi's playing. He's so gravitating in that situation, and his past 3 games have been ridiculous. And then when you put together EDG, they really try to prove something here. I think this is a really, really mouth-watering game.
Yeah, the one game that we talked about, and you said that there's going to be a lot of ownership, and I tend to agree with you, is that KT spot against Sandbox. While KT doesn't have the best scores and wins, it's a really small sample size. But when you look at Sandbox, this is just a team that has given up a lot of fantasy points despite the fact that they don't give up a ton of kills. Part of it is you can see it's every position, and that just tells me what we already know, that they give up a lot of points because they give up a lot of team fights. And in those team fights, the other team tends to win. The same thing can be said about LGD. I think some interesting spots, something like, as we go to build here, and we'll get into cash because I think this is a tough cash spot, but I think something like this, you pop this in, you put it together. What do you got? You got a Vista captain, rather.
Yeah, he's going to be popular tonight. He's really well priced and introduced priced.
And then you can one off a team and figure it out from there. In terms of the team slot pricing, KT super cheap. I think that you can go to an EDG or a BLG even if you're not sure who's going to win that series, because I would think that one of those teams or both of those teams go 2-1. I don't think that ends up being a 2-0, but who knows? Let's take a look here. Yeah, they do got 4 subs on the Sandy Boys, though. Like, look, do you think that makes it any better? Like, I think it actually makes it better. I do. I think that the team that they're going to put out there is just going to be a team that loses, is going to have to fight for objectives, is going to have to, I don't know. I just don't think that KT rolls over them in such a fashion that, that they're 15-12 wins or something like that. I think that they get a little bit bloody. It gets a little sloppy, and we're there to pick up the slop is kind of what I'm thinking, Spell.
The slop. The slop. Let me ask you, do you, other than BLG, EDG, is there any other upset that you see here? Because, like, I really don't. I hate these slates because, like, I don't see anybody else getting upset. So it's bothering me. Like,
yeah, look.
Anyone's legend.
That would be the one. I was going to put in a parlay, like a max bet parlay for KT, LNG, and Gen G, but like it doesn't make sense to do it with just the 2 of them since KT's off the board on Bovada. But I think Victory 5 still wins, but I don't know. Look, AL just beat EDG. They certainly have a path to doing it, and I just question the motivation of Victory 5. I don't know, man. Like, I just don't want to go against these Kung Fu Pandas, man. They're on a roll. That would be the one spot that I'm kind of scared. And I just wonder, do other people feel that same way? Do you think people won't play Victory 5 because of that?
No. I think if anything, Victory 5 will go on their own just because of how expensive they are. But you can fit them nicely with KT. So
yeah, man. I mean, look how expensive JDG was last night, and people found ways to put them in there. Like you find ways. Like it's gonna happen. You figure it out. From a cash perspective, and then we'll wrap this whole thing up here. From a cash perspective, where are you initially going? I mean, I think off the board is BLG, EDG. What team are you building your cash team around? Is it KT? Is that where you're going, or do you feel more confident in like an LNG or a Gen G?
Oh, LNG, definitely LNG. I mean, like, if you look at the slate as a whole, like when you look at cash, Gen has a chance of not performing up to par and just kind of wiping the floor. KT has the same chance, but you still want KT just because of their value. And then BLG and EDG, I skip in cash, and then you just fit any V5 you can when you run it like that. Yeah.
Yeah, look, so I think like if you're doing a LNG Victory 5, you end up with a Iwandy captain, and I don't know if I feel good about that.
Yeah, KT. Just add KT to that.
Yeah, because if you go LNG Gen G, you get a Doran captain a little bit better, but not where I want to go. I think that this is definitely the spot that we want to look at. We're going to get rid of sub or this because I think you can do a couple different things.
I think you select B5 and KT. You're good.
Yeah, well, with the LNG, you can get 4 LNG with a lot of different carry captains, whether it's Tarzan, Vikla, Kaz. I mean, you have a couple options there. When you do it with Victory 5 and KT, I think it's more of the same. I mean, you're getting like rookie, Fadic, Vikla. I mean, I would not be surprised if Vikla is one of the most owned players on the slate. So.
Yeah. I think that's where you go. You go LNG, V5, KT for cash. Then you play BLG, EDG in tournaments. And then LCK Sharks from there.
Yeah, for sure. I do love Gen G. I do think that they'll go on their own just based off of everything that we've just talked about. People do like the safety. Look, people are going to take shots. They're going to take the BLG, EDG game, and they're going to pair it up with other teams. And I just think that the Victory 5, the LNG, both of those spots are just so much more attractive than this Gen G spot. But going back to this chart here, HLE, they're not a team that gives up a ton of points per se. They are a step below, but all you need is 1 or 2 games to be a little bit weird. You need an anyone's legend upset, something like that, and all of a sudden Gen G is, an optimal short stack or a large stack or something like that. So I feel like they've always had the advantage when there's been COVID news surrounding them. They're always optimal after that. And then, of course, the one and hard and fast rule: LNG wins today, right? And if LNG wins, LNG is optimal every single week. So
yeah, I mean, if that game gets dirty, I think it has a higher chance of getting dirty than the V5 game. We're gonna see light over 100. We're gonna see Doing be close to 100 or over. Tarzan, Iwandy. I love the fact that they brought Iwandy back because Luma was just not a good player. Yeah, I think that's a great spot for them, and I think because of that, I think people probably will not look at V5 as much as we think, but we'll see. I think that probably the scariest and the most underowned person on the slate is Chovy. So if Chovy does something, then we'll see.
Just taking a look here and seeing what we can do. Oh, we got Dombey already in there. AC 53.
Yeah, going back's just expensive.
He really is. Yeah, I was just saying there's no way that you can really get Victory 5 and LNG together. Like, there's just really nothing that you can do with a carry captain. I mean, I guess we could probably look at, can you do it with like Tarzan? Is that?
No, you'll have to.
I mean, going with like a BLG team or something like that.
You have to do KT, Kuz plus Vikla. The only way, because Kuz is so cheap and Vikla's cheap. That's the best way. But you want aiming, and aiming will be the least owned KT player.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just a really fun slate. For me, it's a difficult slate because I don't know what LGD or anyone's legend are gonna do, but I can almost guarantee that one of those teams does get a map win, and that will spoil the party. If we just see flat 2-0s everywhere, it'll be a really boring night.
Yeah, it's one of those nights where it's like a lot of times you're trying to figure out, can this team win? And that's not the case at all. It's like, can this team be competitive? Are there going to be more than 15 kills in this game? Like, which one of these teams is going to botch their Baron fight, let the team from behind win that Baron fight, and then as a result extend the game and get you an extra 7 or 8 kills? That's kind of what you're asking.
How did AL beat EDG? That's all you have to ask yourself. How did that happen, right? And can they repeat the magic? So it's, I don't know, it's not impossible, but it almost feels like it's prime time weekend. I think V5 just wins. So.
All right. Well, I don't have much else. I mean, I think the slate is pretty straightforward. If you're playing cash, you're probably playing KT and you're picking Victory 5 or LNG. I don't hate going with Gen G if you want to. I just think it's the wrong spot. I think that the potential for that game to be a bonkers game is just much less than the LNG or Victory 5. I think we're in agreement there. BLG, EDG. I don't know. Tell me. Make a pick. Who wins that series? Which side will you have more of? I know you're gonna have a little both.
BLG for sure.
All right, we're at odds.
I just think the LPL really wants Uzi to be a star, dude.
I think so too, but they haven't done very well when he's played. But that I don't think is because of him. I just think that's the team. I am ultra concerned that this game does end up being absolutely bonkers in every single one of the games, and if that's the case, what does that do to your lineups that don't have the right side of that? And that's just a shitty position to be in. I had too much JDG yesterday. I had so much JDG just because I didn't think that what happened would happen. I thought it was a very small percentage chance, and hey, it came to fruition. So it is what it is. That's all I got. I will see you guys tomorrow. I don't know if Moose will be with me. I don't know who will be with me, but we've got tomorrow. I'll put out some projections for the LCS. I know there's a bunch of CB LOL slates. You guys, I haven't followed it nearly as closely as I have in the past couple of years. I'd be more than happy to share any knowledge and insight on that, or even possibly do some projections for it. But quite frankly, those slates are not exciting enough to put all that stuff together. Let's just put it that way. But we will get some LCS projections, and we'll be live tomorrow, maybe during the LCS for some live viewing or immediately after the last game. Thank you, Moose, for joining. Enjoy your night of slumber and your last day in the land of Italy.
V5 for Worlds, baby.
I would love V5 to win the split because I do have a futures on them that I'd love to have paid out. But outside of that, I'll see you guys later.